Hi, Facebook friends. It's been a while. It's Helen Archontou, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey, and we are back. YWTV has returned. We took a little hiatus to kind of get through those last few weeks of August, get everybody centered and ready to jump back into fall and all the activities that come with fall, whether it's back to school, whether it's back to work for a lot of us that are getting back into the office after being remote for so long. There's a lot going on. So we took a little break, and with that, we made some changes. We hope you like our new studio screen, which shout out to our wonderful communications team, especially Christy, the magic behind YWTV, as I call her, for making everything look so great for all of you. And shout out to our team, especially Lori Murray, who, has worked diligently. We've got some great guests for you coming, starting with today. Really someone who is near and dear to my heart. She's in my circle, and I'm so grateful that our work has brought us to meet each other. And funny enough, we had another connection that wasn't related to work. Today's guest and my sister went to college together, which we found out, funny enough. Funny how life creates connections that you don't even know. But it's a perfect time to be talking to our guest today, and you will see why in a moment. As we're all rushing to get back to our normal routines, we also know that there are a lot of students out there and a lot of families that are getting ready for the college prep process. And there's a lot to undertake with that. I'm with 8-year-old twins, so I'm not quite there yet, but I'm always listening because I know how quickly that it comes. And even if this isn't for you right now, it's better to know in advance what's coming to be prepared for sure. And there's so many great tips to be able to make this process less overwhelming. And today we have the wonderful Dr. Ketsia Alerte Sadler, who is going to provide the support and the information that we need to help us feel better and more confident as we launch into this process. So before we get into it, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Sadler is the founder of College Cafe, a consulting and financial education company. Her motto has always been know more and pay less. And she works to help parents and their children navigate the college financial aid process. Her mission is to empower families with resources to make college to make the college that a student decides to attend to help make it more affordable for them. College Cafe was birthed as a result of the college application process that she and her husband experienced themselves with their two sons, Andre, who went to Syracuse University, and Armin, who's at Cornell University, or went to Cornell University. Where are they? They're both out of school now.
They're out. They're done.
Out. I have to say, I thought so. And so as a result of the experience of getting both of these of her sons, transitioned in through it, she learned so much that she decided to package it and turn it around and give it back to the rest of us. Through individual, small group, and community-based programs and services, Dr. Sadler reaches out to many in her local community and beyond. She is also a registered nurse with 27 years of experience. She has a doctorate in health education from Teachers College, Columbia University, and is the school nurse at Dr. Leroy McLeod Elementary School. Dr. Sadler is the chair of the health committee of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, which is how the two of us met years ago. And so grateful for the work that she and the coalition does in our community. She also is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. All right, Ketsia, what's the hand motion for the deltas? Show me. I don't
know if I can do it on.
I can't do it all. Okay, so I know I know there's a lot there, and she's which is part of the Bergen County Alumni Chapter, and she serves on the Board of Health for the Department of Englewood, New Jersey. And she's also a member of the Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Englewood. She also recently became a certified intrinsic health and well-being coach. Oh my goodness. And I'm so always impressed with all that you do and all that you bring with you out into the community and lift people up. And I see that we've got, our other friend from YW friend, personal friend from Parent Matters on today. And I feel like the two of you are almost like two puzzle pieces that fit together.
Yeah.
In terms of working side by side. So with that, welcome, Dr. Sadler.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure just to be able to share my information and what I do with you. And I'm really thankful to you for this platform. So thank you so much, Helen. I really appreciate it.
It's long overdue to have you here. For those of you watching, just make sure you get these important details down. We have the website for collegecafeonline.org in the comments. We also have the Instagram page where you can follow the great happenings. There's always lots of great programs. And as we were just saying, she just did a wonderful one earlier this week. There's also a direct email address if you want to get to Dr. Sadler with any questions. So all right here for you in the comments as we are talking. So let's jump right in because this is a really important conversation. And there's so much to start with. So as parents, right? Most of us get sticker shock when we start to think about, we all want our kids to go to college for the most part. That's usually kind of one of these, wishes that we have for our children. But when we start to see what it's going to cost, it just really feels very, very overwhelming. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and I guess how it helped you start College Cafe?
So I'll backtrack by saying that the whole process is really something that you can start when your kids are early. And what I've been starting to tell parents about is where are your child's strengths? We kind of think about, oh, doctor, lawyer, engineer, but the doctor, lawyer, and engineer needs a plumber, a mechanic for his car, and a hairdresser. So what I've learned over the years doing College Cafe is that the financial aid information is good for 4-year, 2-year, and some of the trade schools as well. So you really, as a parent, want to guide your child and watch them and see what they're interested in doing. Are they good with their hands? Do they want to become a doctor? Okay, great. Lots of summer programs and things for that. Like you were saying before, Parent Matters and College Cafe kind of yin and yang each other. I get a lot of program information from Parent Matters, and College Cafe sends all the financial information. So that's how you kind of start looking at it. Where are my child's strengths? What do they love to do? And then you start thinking about the financial piece. We did a workshop back in June. Oh, so I'll talk about me. Yeah. So random conversation when our older son was in sophomore year high school with someone about the cost of the summer college program at Syracuse, which offers college credits for high school kids. He was in private Catholic school where we can't afford $6,000 for 6 weeks. Mentioned that to a coworker, and she said, oh, there's a program in Paterson, New Jersey that has a strong affiliation with Syracuse. Found out about the program, signed my son up. He hated going, but twice a month they had workshops for the kids on academics, on etiquette, you name it. They had monthly workshops for the parents to understand the whole financial aid process because it's so much more complicated now than it was when we went to school 30 some odd years ago. And so from the information I started getting, I would start sharing it with other parents. And that's how College Cafe was born. So my love of helping is how I got here. And so, yes, sticker price, you'll be amazed. I found a few months ago, because I'm a pack rat, a paper with my tuition from Barnard. It was like $12,000 back in the late 80s. Well, now tuition by itself is like 30 something thousand dollars, no, 50,000. And then you tack on room and board, you're talking 70. But Barnard is one of those schools, like most of the Ivies, that meet your need 100%. So if a school costs 50 and you only can pay 10,000, Barnard and some of those schools will give you the 40,000 to pay for it. And then there are other criteria depending on what your family's incomes are, but they are a need-based school. So don't be afraid by the ticker price. there are things parents can start doing. For instance, starting a 529 account when your children are born. You know, instead of having a huge birthday party, tell family members, look, here's my child's account, send them $50, send them $100. So by the time they get to college, you have money put away that you don't even have that. Even though you don't even have to report it when you're doing the financial aid forms. That's money that's set aside for them to go to school. So don't be afraid by the ticket price. There are scholarships that are available. The schools have scholarships as well. So don't be afraid. Apply. Let the school tell you no, and then once they give you your package, you can do what's called an appeal, where if they didn't give you enough money, you can ask for additional funding. Explain your family's situation, especially now with COVID. Students and families don't realize that when you're doing the financial aid forms, it's based on your taxes from the previous year. So if your business has lost, if you don't have your job, that's not really reflected on the forms, but you can do an appeal letter and say, I need additional funding.
So there's so much in what you just said. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
I know even, I started and said that I had 8-year-olds. I mean, you just said, you just talked about the funds that, at birth, we could be setting up for our kids and tucking away funds in each year to have them ready. So just one more time, let's go through that again. Tell anyone watching, what are the funds that we should be thinking about at every stage of life, especially when kids are, first born, to set up to be able to help get them financially ready for college?
The main one is a 529 account, which you can start. There's a program called You Promised. When you go food shopping, you can link your debit cards or whatever card to it, and the difference in a price, that money goes towards that fund. Or like I said, when your kids have their birthdays or their sweet 16, confirmation, whatever, instead of getting a whole lot of funds that you might put into their bank account, it can go into their 529 account. So that's a way of already starting to put money away for your child without even, college is not even on the horizon yet.
That's amazing. So we got that, folks. Get those if you're watching and you've got the younger set and you're thinking that College Cafe is not for you. Obviously, there's information for every age and stage in life here. So when we're talking about College Cafe, who should be thinking about getting connected to you? Who's your target audience? Obviously you just told us something really important for me, and I've got 8-year-olds. So, but who's your target audience that you want to be working with?
So primarily, I think the best group is talking to 7th and 8th graders, at the beginning of the year, because when you start thinking about high school, you may want to go to a school that's specialized at going to one of the like Bergen County Technical School, or you might want to go to our high school that's based at Bergen Community, where children are graduating with an associate's degree. So that's amazing. You come out of college, you already have a 2-year degree, which you can transfer those credits to a 4-year school. And now, even though you're a first-year student, you're already a third year as far as credits. So that would help to decrease the amount of money you're paying. So ideal, definitely 7th and 8th grade, but I'll talk to anybody, because again, if your kids are younger, we're talking about what they're doing as a younger kid. When you're older, if you're in a junior or a senior in high school, like right now, if I'm talking to a senior, I'd be really saying, okay, what schools are you looking to apply to? Let's start talking about financial aid, because you're really under the gun if you haven't done certain things. So anybody is great, but target 7th, 8th grade, freshmen, sophomores.
So that's good to know, because I think that's probably younger than a lot of people would think of. A lot of people probably think that they should kind of, wait and be doing this a little bit more in like freshman, sophomore year of high school. So it's great to, great information to be thinking about doing that a little younger. So my next question is, who are your conversations with the kids and the conversation with their parents different, or are they the same, or do you work with both?
I try to have everyone in together, because it's a package deal. I need to tell the children that, when I'm sending out scholarship applications, that they have the power as to where they go to school. Because if you're doing your part as a student to fill out as many scholarship applications as possible, then you could say to your parents, Mom, look, I've done X, Y, and Z, and I have like 10,000 in scholarships coming in. But if you're not doing them, you're not helping your parents, but yet you want to go to a school that costs $60,000 and you haven't done the work. And I need to talk to the parents as well, because the financial aid forms like FAFSA, which every single school uses, or the CSS profile, which a small amount of private universities use, the parents do those forms. Or I recommend parents do it because you're paying the bills. I did do that with my boys initially myself, and then the next subsequent years I'd have them sitting next to me to see how the process went, so they understood the work that went in to getting that information. So I like to talk to both, because a lot of times also I kind of help to, I guess, vindicate the parents, because they were probably saying the same thing to their kids, and kids don't listen to their own parents. And some stranger out of the blue comes and says the exact same thing, and it's almost like an absolute revelation, like an epiphany. So I need both parties together.
Yeah. And so those, for those of us that are not in the realm yet of this conversation, those two forms that you just talked about, and I know that they're really important, for the financial aid process. Are they forms that you would do when during the process would you do those forms once you're already admitted into college, or are you doing them, in advance as you're considering schools?
So all the high school seniors, October 1st is when FAFSA is available, and the CSS profile as well. So once October 1st hits, you get your parents' tax forms, and you start working on those forms. FAFSA just deals with the taxes and numbers. That's it, cut and dry. And at the end of it, it spits out what's called the EFC, which is the estimated family contribution. So according to those numbers, FAFSA says that you can pay a certain amount. The CSS profile, which is a little more complicated, goes into a lot more detail, property, business, things like that. And so the last question on the CSS profile, which I like, is free text. So you can actually write in, family situation, such as, parent who got ill, let's say with COVID, which is a big situation right now, or if their business has gone under, or if they've had to help and take care of a ill parent with COVID. That's the last question on CSS. So high school seniors right now, we're October 1st, you start filling out those forms. Make sure you get it in before your school's financial aid deadline, because the longer you wait, the less chance you have of being awarded whatever funds they have available. So FAFSA for every school, CSS profile for specific schools. And then once you're in college, every year you're going to do FAFSA for the next year that you'll be in school. And then CSS, if you decide to go to a school that is using the CSS profile, every year you have to fill out that form as well.
Well, that's so helpful, because, some of us may be in this realm, so we're understanding. But for those of us that are new to it and maybe have kids that are, way earlier, it's great to know some of these timeframes and when on, our annual calendars as our kids, move on each year, we should be thinking about these things. So you mentioned COVID-19 twice. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, when we were talking, and you just mentioned it again. Can you talk to us a little bit about how it's really changed and affected the application process? Because it sounds like not only, our family's income may have changed, as a result, but, what expectations and responsibilities, families have had, can also really have been impacted because of needing to care from someone, like you just said. So where does all that fit into this conversation, and what's different if you're doing this now during these times?
So one thing that's happened as a result of COVID-19 is that some schools decided to be test optional. So they're not looking at SAT scores, ACT scores, but your application has to be strong as far as your essay and your interview. Now, where that gets a little bit different as well is that, especially last year, schools weren't doing interviews on campus anymore. So you might have had to do them remotely. They weren't doing any college tours anymore because of it. So that was the switch in it as well. So students were doing a lot more virtual tours, which can be, sometimes if you go onto a website, you're going to see the best sites, and then or the best buildings on that particular website. So you really have to be careful what you're looking at. So it makes it a little bit more complicated in that sense. But the financial piece is the biggest change. On the administrative end with the schools, when I was applying for my boys, and even now, they would do something called a verification process with your form. So they want to, in addition to submitting them using them when you're filling out the form, you'd have to submit copies of taxes, any other forms to another location, mail them totally separate from the school, where they'd have to I don't even know how much time it took. So that kind of delayed the process. Because of COVID, they're not doing that anymore. And also, like I said, the big thing with COVID is that if you look, your financial aid forms are using taxes from the previous year. So if the business has changed, now schools are giving you well, you always had the option, but you really should use the option of writing an appeal letter and saying, look, our family's finances have been impacted by COVID-19. So, can you give us more money? And a lot of times the schools, their processes vary. You're either filling out a form and submitting tax statements or income statements, or you're just writing a letter explaining the difference. So those have been the major differences.
That's very good to know, because especially sometimes parents have gone through this process and then have a gap before their next child, and they may think that it's exactly the same. So knowing that there are these differences now is so incredibly helpful. So for students that are, really want to get into their college of their dreams, what are some tips to avoid pitfalls that, might get in the way of that happening? I mean, obviously they have to make sure that they're doing their part as a student, like you said, to make sure that their grades are in order and that their academic activities are in order. But what else? What else should students be thinking about from that 7th and 8th grade time frame so that they're ready when it's time?
So summertime is important as well. Every college and university has a summer program for high school students. Most of it might have been affected through COVID, but some of them were remote or virtual. Find out if they have it. And sometimes it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Try different things. Explore. You may want to be a journalist. Do a journalism program, but use the summer as your time to figure out what it is you might want to do. Take advantage of those opportunities. And whatever school you want to attend or apply to, if the opportunities are available to visit, then you do that. If you want to major in something, see what some of the requirements might be. You want to definitely do that, because you don't want to get there and realize, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared or whatever. So you definitely want to see what the school is looking at, see what their application process is also. Meet the deadline. That's the big thing. You don't want to miss out on deadlines for the applications. If you're applying to a school, say like Juilliard, which is a performing arts school, you might have to submit, might have to go for an audition. If you're going into fine arts, there are portfolios that have to be done. So you really want to know when the deadlines are. And then one main tip, your email needs to be professional. Keep it simple, just your name. Some of the fun names that we see, let's make it professional, because when you're emailing, contacting the schools for whatever, some of the schools are keeping track of when you contact, when you visit. So make sure you do that. And then, and like I said, you don't want to miss deadlines. So when you're in the application process, have a checklist. I've created one with the schools. If they need letters from guidance, from English teachers, whatever their needs, so that you're on task to make sure your things get in early. And not even that you have to do early decision, but get your application in early, way before the deadline.
Yeah, that's great. It's great advice to even, that tidbit about the email address, right? Because sometimes you're thinking that that's not something anyone is thinking of, but it's the same thing, like your activities on social media, pictures that you post, activities that you're connected to, in the community, everything becomes part of your portfolio, and the impression and perception, that is reviewed at times like this. So such great information.
And one more thing also to my seniors, sometimes we kind of get to senior year and want to slack a little bit. You want to maintain the good grades the entire year, because if your grades slip drastically, schools have rescinded your admission letter. They will say that we're sorry, you cannot come here anymore because your grades have slipped. So we need to maintain that level of excellence all 4 years. Challenge yourself. Take AP, whatever your strength is. Like I said before, take as highest level courses as you can in that area.
Yeah, that's great advice. So I have to ask, because there's so many options, but is it really worth applying for scholarship money? Is there money really out there?
There is so much money. That's what I do. People, if you email me, I will add you to my distribution list. There are so every month there's one site that I like called JLV Counseling. Every month they put out scholarships that I do from the first day to the last day of the month. So you basically have to go through every page and see which ones you qualify to apply for. And then also in applying to scholarships, sometimes if they need an essay, you might already have that essay written. You might just have to tweak the words, a little bit. There are scholarships such as Coca-Cola, which gives kids out like anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year. The Ron Brown Scholarship is another one. Granted, those are national ones, so the competition is stiff, but you also have local ones, the sororities, the fraternities, the women's club, Rotary clubs, your churches, your parents' company, the credit union where you have your account. All those places have scholarships. So I always say, put your application in. It's like the lotto. If you're not in it, you don't have a chance to win it. So every application you see that you qualify, and sometimes even if you don't qualify, you might be the only student applying for it. And sometimes they have to get rid of that money. So I say, why not? Some of them don't even have an essay. You can just go online and just fill in the information. Boom, that's it. So if you're going to get 1,000 here, 500 here, $200, that may be one book if you're a science major. So every little penny counts.
And I'll tell you, those books are expensive. And for those of you that don't have kids in college yet and think that it's from the times from when we went to school, how much a textbook costs, it is not that any longer. I can say it as a college, I'm a professor at a university and an adjunct professor, I should say. And they are very expensive. I know as a professor, I'm very careful about using textbooks because I don't want to bankrupt my students. But sometimes you really need those textbooks for the classes. So having that scholarship money to help offset those costs is no small, no small thing.
And then one thing also people may not realize is that you can rent textbooks now. Amazon and Chegg are two sites where you can actually rent the textbook, especially if it's a class that it might be an elective that you're not going to major and you won't need it later on. You can rent the book for the semester a lot cheaper, and as long as you send it back by the deadline, then you can get your money back. You're renting it, so or you're not throwing money away.
Yeah.
So
that's so true. And also it also helps in terms of from an environmental perspective, keeping down stuff. That you're not going to necessarily, you may or may not use that textbook. Something you're going to use, you may want to keep it, but if it's not something you're going to use, for sure. And I see that, Rona's saying, make sure that we have a handwritten thank you letter when you receive a scholarship. That's great advice.
Yes.
Many organizations will send additional money each year if you keep them updated on your progress. That's a great piece to add to this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, that is true. My younger son definitely, his guidance counselors and his one teacher wrote letters for him. Oh, it kind of had, I guess, a letter in their back pocket. And there was one that he got, the counselor told me about it. No, someone told me about it on a Wednesday evening, and it had to be postmarked by that Saturday morning. I called up, I said, I'm sorry, I need a letter for Armand. Can you get it to me right away? They sure did. And that was one that he got every year. It was renewable. They would, he sent a thank you letter, and then they would contact him. How was your school year? Just send us your grades. And he got, I think it was like $1,000 each year. So definitely that goes a long way with your etiquette as far as, a blossoming adult.
Well, for those of you watching, I hope you were taking notes. Good news is if you couldn't keep up because there was so much great information that came at us, you can go back and watch this again. This broadcast lives on our Facebook page, and from eventually it'll move over to our YouTube channel, and you can access it at any time. I would recommend that you think about the children and families in your life whose kids are approaching college age and thinking about college age. As Dr. Sadler said, you want those 7th and 8th graders really, really thinking about it, but you also want the ones with youngins to be thinking about those college funds that they should be starting early age. And again, it was great advice. I mean, there's just, so many, dump trucks and, art craft sets that you need to get at the holidays and at birthdays. Ask your circle to support the funds and help make things easier so they can get into school and be able to pay for it. We, again, have all of the information so you can stay connected to College Cafe by going onto their website, get onto their mailing list, follow them on Instagram. You have Dr. Sadler's direct email address here, also in our contacts. And as she said, the yin and yang, she's really going to help you. She's going to give you e-blasts that tell you about upcoming scholarships, great programs that you can sign on for. You can work with her directly, for coaching. And she's that yin and yang with Parent Matters that will give you a lot of the program pieces to help fill you in and help your kids figure out their direction. She'll help you pay for it. Parent Matters will help you figure it out. And we're so grateful that we have you in our community, Dr. Sadler. Such great information today. And again, we know that there's a lot of people that are, out there couldn't be watching at this particular moment, but they can watch later. This is accessible to them at any time. So with that, any last pieces of advice, Dr. Sadler, before we jump off?
I just want to say thank you again for having me, and to the parents out there, please contact me now. Even if your child is a senior, I am available. We want to make sure that you're ready and have all the information, as opposed to us talking in April of 2022 when it's a little more complicated to try to figure out the cost and where you're going if you have to put out $20,000 or $30,000. So please contact me. I am here. This is what I love to do. Yes, I'm a school nurse by day, but I am your financial aid guru, contact person, information person at night. So I would love to talk to you and help you to get that process going. And also, even if you have kids who are in college, I'd also send out information for current college students as well, because you still need that information while they're in school. So definitely, I don't just let you go once your kid gets in. I hold on to them for at least another 4 years. So
that's great, because we know that there's more help needed once they get in. And we also just appreciate that you're such an inspiration, just showing the uniqueness and all the different skill sets that women have and bring, and that you can be a nurse by day and a financial, you've got your side hustle that's just as important and life-saving, quite frankly, as your main hustle. So grateful that you can not only do it, but that you model that for others, because it's a good reminder as women that, we all have so many talents and skills to share, and that we should never feel limited to stay in one box, for sure. And so with that, I want to make sure that our folks think about joining us tomorrow. We have Melanie Reyes on. She's with the Ironbound Community Corporation, and we're going to have a great conversation about the amazing work that they're doing to help our community get back to work also. She is beyond at 11 a.m. tomorrow, but again, you can watch it anytime, but I'll be talking with her. I also want you to mark some important dates. We are currently still taking until early October, until October 25th, a little over a month, applications for non-white women to be part of our Women's Empowerment 360 Business Essentials program. It is a way to figure out how to take your ideas, like your side hustles, like Dr. Sadler has, and turn it into a business. And there's a great platform, Eureka, which is an online community to be able to support and help you with that. Parent Matters actually was the winner of the pitch competition that was connected to our first cohort for it. So we hope that any women, again, non-white women who are entrepreneurs and would like support with their businesses, to sign on. On September 25th, we want you to mark your calendars to join us at Riverdale High School for their wellness event in Oradell. We're part of we're a community sponsor. We'll have a table there, and there'll be lots of other great nonprofits sharing information. September 30th, we have an important conversation about dismantling the stigma around Black women's mental health. And we really hope that you join us for this. It's a life-saving conversation. It is virtual. It is free. It's September 30th, and it's called I'm Not Your Superwoman. So please join us for that. Lots of other great programs for you. And we will drop more of them and links so you can get to the YW and stay connected to them. Everyone, we wish you a great day. It's great to be back on YWTV. So happy that, to spend this Thursday, which of course is when we share the mic now with Black women in our community to share their stories, to have such a wonderful return with Dr. Sadler and all this great information in her program. And we wish you all a great day. Stay safe. And, please get back into it now that we're into fall with great energy, good health, smart habits, and planning financially for your children's future. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sadler. Good to see you. Be well, all.